to open itself up to new possibilities, to the imaginary world that we would all like to see or be in. Children of today also want organizations to be meaningful. They want their jobs to have meaning. They want to go out there and save the world from starvation, world war. They want clean water. They want all of those things. So it's not enough just to have a job and make a living. And I call this generation meaningful. Let me see. Oops. This is picture number 4. What can this picture tell us? What can we learn from this picture that could actually help us move beyond our existing way of thinking into to creating or building a new world order? This is a man looking at his reflection. I think it's important to reflect on what we do in our past, but I think it's important that this reflection does not create or shape us in such a way that we become afraid of innovating or collaborating or trying new things. As you can see from this picture, the reflection is actually pointing forward. So what this can teach us is that we should look towards the past, but use the past to guide us in the direction of tomorrow. And it's really, really important as well. Anybody who's brought up a child also knows that it's important to emphasize the positive. Positive reinforcement is a good way of bringing about positive change in any organization, in any individual, and in any society. This is picture number 5. This is a man with a camera. What's really interesting, or what this picture can tell us, is that if we actually look through the lens of somebody else's camera, we can see the world as in a new way for the first time. A photographer has a really good way of capturing a moment in time, a reflection or a thought in ways which most of us may not be able to do. But by actually following in the footsteps of a photographer, we can see the world through a new lens and in a new perspective. And I think that's also incredibly important if we want to build a new beginning or a new platform or a new organization or a new way of doing things. It's important to follow in the footsteps of other people who may actually see things in a way which is different from the way we see things. Opening up our minds to the world and allowing ourselves to be influenced by those pictures. A photographer also has a passion for his profession, and I keep on coming back to the word passion. A passion is something that drives you and motivates you and helps you to create and build and sustain you through hard times as well as good times. I think by building your life and your profession around your passion, you have something that can sustain you for a long time. And actually, people who are passionate, who feel passionate about what they do, they also have a lot of followers. Passion fosters leadership, and people follow people with a passion, with a strong sense of self-consciousness or self-awareness. This is actually a picture from where I was born, where I grew up. This is a picture of my hometown, the village where I was born, and this is a very typical Swedish house. It's red, it's got white little corners. The second picture you see on the other side is actually a house, a building from Liva in the empty quarters in Dubai. This is a barasti, it's like a balcony where traditionally Bedouins used to sleep, and you see the little roof as well, with which is made of palm leaves. What's interesting with innovation as well is that it happens in a place and a space where you most feel at home. I always say to people that, well, you don't have to sit at work to be innovative and creative. It usually happens where, like at your kitchen table or in the shower, or where you most or least expect it to. What's really interesting as well is that if you actually go and travel to other countries and sit at other people's tables and eat their food, you also see things in a different perspective, and you see things in a completely different light. But what's also interesting is that there's a lot of things that actually connect us more than make us feel different. And I think the fact that innovations happens at the kitchen table is a really important thing. Maybe organizations and companies should actually build spaces and places which feel more at home, where actually innovation can take place. I know, for example, that there's a lot of innovation centers around the world who are actually building huge collaborative spaces where they have a lot of toys, they have a lot of play tools, and they have something which they call the kitchen area. It's a collaborative space where people can come together and actually gossip and talk and play with tools, and they eat. It's the informal grapevine where the innovation actually takes place, and I call that the kitchen table. It's important to connect with our roots as well. Every time I go back in the summer to my hometown, I always feel I connect with my roots, and I feel this is actually the time when I'm the most creative. This is picture number 7. This is actually my own trust network of connections. It's Rona, Shamsa, Namir, Eugene, Peter, and Kamyar. This is the network that I work with and collaborate with. Shamsa is actually Pakistani but lives in London. Namir is Iraqi. Rona is Scottish. Eugene is in Taiwan. Peter is Indian, and Kamyar is from Iraq. This is actually what my network of collaborative partners and people look like that I work with on a day-to-day basis. And I think this is also, from what I can see in Dubai, is what the world is more or less looking like. To be able to create and build new innovative solutions, it requires that we actually collaborate and work with people outside our own boundaries, our own nationalities, and look at things from away in a different perspective than maybe we're used to. And I think it's important to build a trust network, a network of connections and people that we can collaborate with, that can actually draw upon in building new value propositions and moving forward. And I think it's a good thing that those networks and those connections actually come from outside our own kind of core group, our trust network, and that we constantly bring in new people into our network to help us to collaborate and to create with. New people that come into our network gives us a new perspective, a new way of looking at things, which maybe we didn't have before. This is a picture actually from the desert in Liva, and the other picture is from what I call the desert in Scandinavia. It's all sand. What's interesting with people who actually are very innovative, they have the ability to stand very close to a hole without actually falling into it. They move and stand on the trenches. They move between different borders and different settings, but they don't allow themselves to actually fall in to a set way of thinking or doing things. I think to be able to build a new future or build new capabilities for the future, it's important to nurture those skills and those people who have the ability to kind of stand on the trenches, to stand on the borders of those holes without actually falling into them. And nurturing those people to become the people in your organizations who have the skills and the capabilities to actually build new businesses and new futures. I think sometimes in organizations what happens is that those people actually maybe aren't always nurtured and aren't always developed to their full potential. And sometimes they also leave to become entrepreneurs. This is a picture of a thought wall. Something that we see a lot of is we have a lot of innovative people with a lot of creative ideas and thinking. And one of the things that I've always seen is that just because you have a creative idea, it doesn't actually mean that the person with the creative idea is the person that can actually execute it. Sometimes you need to combine the person with the creative idea with the resources and the people who can actually bring this idea into the marketplace. And those people may not necessarily be in the same person. And also putting resources to this as well. It's important, I think, for organizations to have their own